Ever wondered what the climb was like for some of the most influential figures in the music industry? How did they get there? Where did they come from?
I truly felt that music could change and save lives.
Come with us as these talented and often relentless individuals weave us through their journeys, from garages and bars to arenas and stadiums. We gotta tell you, some of these stories are kind of crazy. This is Road to the Arena. Here are your hosts, Wendy Hope, Drew Russell, and Mike Slade. Today's guest, Basak Kizilisik. All right. Basak, welcome to lovely Music Row.
Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
It's home.
Yeah.
Nice. Or I guess you should welcome us.
Yeah, you should have brought your dog.
Welcome to Music Row. I kind of did.
Yeah, parts of it.
Oh yeah.
Golden Retriever's hair, it's a thing.
Yeah, I have that on my head as well. All right. So you have such an interesting story. We're excited to hear it all. But I guess just start. So Turkey childhood. Start from as far back as you want to go to kind of wind us through how the heck you wound up as an artist manager here
In Nashville, from Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
It's crazy.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, at face value, it is wild. Sometimes I step back. I'm like, what? I couldn't have planned this. How do you even write this story? But I was born in Turkey. My family is there. My parents, everybody, myself included, we were all born there. Left when I was 4. My dad's a surgeon. He's a doctor. Always wanted to practice outside of Turkey. End up in the States. So we lived in Canada for a couple years after Turkey. From Canada, we moved to Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
Wow.
For a couple of years, which was just a wild experience, a crazy experience. We lived in an American compound over there. And a couple years there. From there, we moved to the States, lived in Virginia for a couple of years while my dad got, relicensed and took his exams and all of that. And then from Virginia to Memphis, where, that was like kind of middle school, high school for me. Memphis to Nashville for junior and senior year of high school. That's kind of what really introduced me to country and just country music in general. And then I went to college in Orlando, Rollins College.
Okay.
And
You're all over.
Turkey, from Saudi Arabia to Memphis. That's kind of
To Rollins College.
to Rollins
You're a
College.
genteel place, right?
That's right.
Full of horse people.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah, there's lots of equestrians there, right?
Lots of equestrians. We called it a little bit of a country club
Right.
kind of vibe.
That's its rep, right? Yeah.
It's his rep, but it's an incredible business school. It's a top
Right.
business school in the South, and that's really what drew me to it. And then I moved back to Nashville at some point in there. My parents moved out of Nashville. They moved away from Nashville to Fort Wayne. I decided to move back here for music just because, I was pre-med for a while. I was pre-law for a while, trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Doing all the successful stuff.
This is probably what I should do. Dad's a
Yeah.
doctor. Mom's like, you should be a lawyer. You should do something. And so I was kind of checking the boxes. And then eventually I sat down. I was like, what fires me up? What am I passionate about? What can I not put down? And when I really sat down to think about it, the answer was music. And I never had any kind of a flair or passion for the performance side of it. But I believed in the power of a song, and I believed in the power of music, and I truly felt that music could change and save lives. And I felt that in my soul. And I love creatives. I love creative minds. I love songwriters and anybody that has a propensity for being creative, I love. And I wanted to be part of the team, part of the machine that helped get that creativity, get that music out to the people that needed to experience it and the people that needed to hear it. And once I realized that, it was just pretty clear to me. I knew that I loved Nashville. Yeah. I knew that I loved the people here. And so I decided to move back and just kind of start this journey here.
That's amazing. So we are moving all around, right? You're Turkey, Canada, Saudi Arabia, U.S., Memphis. That's where I probably never even mentioned this to you. Half my family's from Memphis.
I did not know that.
Or Bolivar, which is not even. It's like in the sticks. Russell Dickerson's dad is a preacher in Bolivar.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah, but then they eventually moved to Memphis. Most of them worked for FedEx. But so you've moved all around. Do you think being in different places all the time like that is part of what drew? Was music a major thing that you would turn to? Was there certain artists or I'm just curious, as you say this story, I'm imagining, well, what's a constant? If you've got that much change always in your life, what's a constant? Maybe it's music. I don't know.
That's a That's a great point. That's a great perspective, and you're absolutely right. It became a kind of part of the fabric of my personality. The fact that I was moving every 2 to 3 years, it affected my ability to really form relationships. That withstood the test of time. I got really good at first impressions. I got really, really good at meeting people. I was always around adults, galas, right. Pharmaceutical company events, and I was always around adults. I'm an only child, so. With moving around that much, I got really good at making friends, but didn't really understand how to keep them. So I found a lot of safety in music. I would lock myself up in my room, put in a CD, iPod, whatever, and those were my friends. That was my safe place. That was my constant. And my dad, I remember vividly driving around. We drive around Saudi because obviously at that time, women couldn't drive. So my dad was always driving. If we were in the car, it was because Dad was driving. Yeah. And I would fall asleep to some sort of wild music in the car. I mean, Gypsy Kings, Julio Iglesias. It was everything. AC/DC. Michael Jackson, the Eagles. It was just this crazy, diverse array of music that was kind of inspired by all these places that we lived. I mean, Turkish music was a big part of that, Latin, but also anything on the Western side of things, what was coming out of the US and Europe. And it was just this eclectic mix. And I feel like that was just kind of ingrained in me. And I soaked that up from a really early age.
It's amazing. Just even hearing
that story is amazing. Yeah.
That is amazing.
It's like, oh yeah, of course, that women couldn't drive. It's like,
well,
I'm
true,
so
but
sheltered.
Mind-boggling, right. True, but I mean, wow. Yeah. So what got you into being in the management side of it? Like, how did you go from I like music to?
I think I always knew that I wanted to manage.
Really?
Early on, I knew that I wanted to be the person. I wanted to have an artist whose career that I was in charge of in some capacity. And I just figured I needed a lot of experience before I let somebody put their career in my hands.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I can't just ask somebody to trust me.
And you went to law school, right?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't go to law school? Okay.
No. Business. So I have a degree in business, but it's an international business degree.
Oh.
So, it's not necessarily a music degree or a business degree, but, so when I moved back to Nashville, I knew that a lot of my favorite artists were signed to Capitol. At that time, the merger had happened, so it was like EMI, Capitol had formed together, it became UMG. So I had this dream that I wanted to work at, Capitol Records at UMG, and that's what I knew I wanted to do, some experience that I wanted to get. I also knew that I wanted to get experience doing many different things in the business. I wanted to understand how everything worked, how the different puzzle pieces worked, so that when I did have my artist, I had a lay of the land. I could go, okay, this guy does this team does this, we need this, we don't need this. And I could, traverse all of this with intention. That was my goal.
That's pretty good for somebody. I mean, you're pretty young, right? Most people are directionless. They're just trying to get through the night.
Yeah, and they would view it totally opposite. Most people that I've met would view that totally the opposite. It'd be like, hey, hopefully I can get a job at a record label so that somebody else will validate that I'm good enough to be working in the music industry. You're like, yo, you're for working
whatever
for me,
that means.
Like, I'm going to learn that every job here, like, that's super brilliant.
How old were you when you did that?
21.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
That's not,
21?
No, most
21-year-old twins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
crazy.
I don't know, I've always been an overachiever. I think I've always been it didn't feel like something I really thought through and I was like, this is what I want to do. It was more just like a common sense, okay, I eventually want to do this, but I should probably know how to do it and learn how to do it, so I'll try to do everything. It just felt very common sense to me at the time.
It's super cool. I'm just saying it's unusual.
Well, there are
very cool.
There are some people potentially that don't have that thought first. About
she went bigger, went home,
like
wanting, go home.
Wanting to know what you're doing first,
exactly.
might not cross everybody's mind.
Right.
Well, your typical 21-year-old just jumps in without thinking to whatever they do.
Right. But she was.
I'll say something to that. I have found myself. I wouldn't change any part of my story, but I have found myself at times thinking, did I hold myself back? Could I have done this sooner and figured it out? If I had just, maybe had a little bit more of the gusto to go, just do it. Just do it.
But one of the things is that looking back on, say, like the last 10 years of the music business or the entertainment business in general, it's changed so much, and probably in ways that people didn't forecast, that even though you kind of knew it would change as it got digital, that having this sort of like 365 view that you developed with intention, which is crazy unusual, it's probably super helpful, right? Because you're like, oh, the jigsaw puzzle just changed, but I already know how it works, right? Which most people aren't like that. Like, what happened to the good old days?
You're spot on, and in my case, that's especially true. Most of my background is in digital and marketing.
Right.
I ended up in the digital space, in the e-commerce, fan club, fan engagement.
Yeah, which was off to the side.
It was, especially in Nashville, it was super early. We're talking, pre-Spotify. So this is like, as Spotify was really becoming, part of the fabric of country music in Nashville. And, everything was just kind of Wild West. Let's figure it out. Let's find a way to engage fans. Let's find a way to use technology to support, this music. And I really deep dove into that very early on, and that became a big part. That's a big part of the lens through which I view music and an artist's career.
Which today is everything.
It's everything. Right. I mean, it gives me so much of an advantage as a manager. I don't have to hire a third-party marketing company. I don't have to hire
go figure out digital for me because I'm an idiot. Right.
I mean, I'm in it. with Alana, the artist that I manage. I'm in it with her on socials, language, best practices. How to post, what to post, where to post, strategy, how to tell a story, and I think I'm going to come back to that a lot throughout this conversation. But I consider myself a storyteller as well. I think my job is to tell a story, my artist's story.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, in every way that I can. So utilizing all these tools that I can. So how can I tell a story using Facebook? How can I tell a story using TikTok, Snapchat, Spotify? Like all of these tools that are at our disposal, how can that add to the story that we're telling? And how can I guide my artists to use these tools to benefit them?
Well, it's particularly important because in general, even before digital media and social media became popular, when you really got attached to an artist, at least for me, I felt very connected to them, whether I ever met them or not, right? You felt like, oh my God, these songs are part of my life, and I remember the moment I first heard it or whatever. But with social, it's so much more like that, right? Because you get every day, you get all this interaction. People just look right at the camera and talk to you about nothing, like you're just hanging out with them. And so it's probably 5-10 times more important than it used to be. Even,
well,
right?
also to tell a story in the 90s, you had to spend millions of dollars to tell it on the radio,
exactly.
or another
music video,
or a music video, or another several millions of dollars to tour around and tell your story. So I was in a rock band once upon a time, and I remember telling the lead singer, "Hey, there's this thing that Google's doing. It's called paid ads, and you can force people to watch your music video." And I'm like, are you sure we should be like spending money to go on tour when we could just like make people watch us and stay at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And his response was, "You're fired."
Are
Literally
you
found another drummer. He's like, "You just don't want to go on the road and grind."
He thought you didn't want to?
Wow.
Yeah. And I was trying to tell him like, no, you just don't have to do that. And back then, and so when you started, so now it's the game. It's more and more saturated, right? Because everybody's trying to find this digital marketing, like just one up this. What's the next little thing, trick, secret that I can do? What's the next platform? Yeah. What's the next viral thing? But probably pre Spotify, everything worked, or maybe not. But I mean, what was that experience like when
But everything was not much. Everything was not much. When you say everything, these platforms that we talk about, like. There were not many opportunities to get music out on your own as an artist, right? The power that you had to make to effectively promote and push your music in a way that made a difference was so much less than it is now. Yeah. There's so much more power in the hands of an artist and their team now than there was back then.
Yeah, there are less rules in some respects.
Less rules, but also you almost needed the label deal. You needed the publicist. You needed access. You needed to buy access to these outlets that could give you exposure, right? Now, I mean, I could release a song. I could hit record on a button, and release it tomorrow and have it out in the world for people to consume.
Well, I mean, Oliver
tomorrow.
Anthony, right? Like
Right, look at
recorded a song.
Whatever
on a
happened? Is he?
phone.
What's going on with him?
I think he's on tour.
I know, but he never signed with anyone, right?
Agency, he signed a UTA.
He did? Okay.
Touring, all the things. I mean,
But that would be the number one example of a guy
Exactly,
who
just
just
put
guitar,
something out.
voice, no production. You know, Spotify mastered. Like if you upload to
TikTok's kinda
Spotify,
like that
they
too.
master a little, so like you can sound okay,
Right.
and boom, number one song.
I mean, it's crazy. The pros and cons of that, right? So on one hand, it's never been easier to get your music out there, to get your product out there as an artist. It's also never been harder to break through the noise.
There's also a lot of saturation now because there's so many people doing that. I mean, we all four could launch something tomorrow, and then but you're competing. The competition is greater.
Well, I mean,
there's
here's
so much more.
The great example is when I first came to Nashville and started building technology products, I would cite in my pitch how many Spotify uploads were every day. And at that time, I think I was citing like 40,000 uploads a day. And now it's like 75,000 uploads a day. Wow. I mean, it's an insane amount.
It's
and
crazy.
Spotify, actually, this is interesting on the tech side, I think. They actually make discovery difficult because they know that there's so much music on the platform that it's not possible, or not even music, just content, that it's not possible for all of it to be good. So they actually like purposely build in like barriers to discovery.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, because like you have to have their algorithm kind of working in your favor before you can really kind of be discovered. So that, to your point, like that's like the saturation is so high that they even recognize that they have to like keep a certain number of people away from the public eye, which is a problem if you're trying to, build
Yeah, but
an
is there a
artist
way to
career.
work around that? Like, Mike, is there a way to like for somebody to come in and
Hack
kind
it?
of hack that?
No, I mean, it's their algorithm. I mean,
Yeah.
in the case of Spotify, the thing that made it special in the first place was they got the Pandora guy, who originally came up with this algorithm that was not based on, it was based on math, not on content. It was based on the relationship between one note to another. So he when he originally did it in Pandora, he did this algorithm that could say, if you like this Beatles song, then you'll like this song, not based on the fact that it was Led Zeppelin or something, but based on the fact that it sounded tonally,
Same.
mathematically 1% off or whatever. That's where it originally started. And they're still ahead of Apple on that.
That is so nerdy.
But
I love it,
This is
though.
like 20 years ago. He came to
you know that
Apple.
guy?
Yeah, he came to Apple and pitched us, and we rejected him. This is like in 99,
Really?
2000. Yeah, I remember meeting the guy. And it was all math. I mean, it actually makes sense, right? You like this thing that you don't even know it's G major. You just know that it sounds a certain way, right? And then like the other one sounds almost like it, right?
Yeah,
You know?
like the hertz. It's math, right?
So anyway, that's one thing Spotify has always had going for them is that algorithm. But to your point, it's their algorithm, right? So they can do whatever they want, and they control the vertical, and they want to. And to your point, it is kind of hard. The fact that when you listen to a Spotify playlist and then it kind of migrates off to stuff you didn't tell it to migrate in, that's them just doing that. But it's all them. You can't influence. All you can do in influencing it. Like one time somebody sent me a playlist. I used to only use Apple Music because I used to work at Apple. So I started listening to Spotify just to be cool with my daughters and stuff. And somebody sent me a playlist that was all like their music, right? Not as a friend of my daughter sent me this music. So I listened to it like for 3 hours one night.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
No, and like anyway, and like basically now that's all I get because they think because it's like half my total listening history on Spotify.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
this one
No, I have the
playlist
same
for
thing.
one night that wasn't even really so that it thinks that's all I care about, right? So I have to keep retraining it, right, by listening to other stuff, right? But it's up to them. You can't really hack it
Well, I mean, you have some
unless you do that.
you have some level of control in that. I mean, you can turn off autoplay, you can turn off the smart,
And you can listen to certain things to force it to think that you like it.
Sure.
Exactly.
I mean,
right.
from my perspective as a manager, looking at it from the perspective of an artist and their career, it's never been more important to make your music matter, right? To release music that means something, that is important and applicable to a wide range of people out there. Like I said at the beginning, like I'm in this business to help improve people's lives through music because of music, right? So if I have an artist that has a story to tell, that has an engaging, meaningful story to tell, my goal is to find the people out there that want to hear it, right? And I truly believe, algorithm or not, that if I have an artist that releases this music and we're able to find the audience for that music, they will tell us. They will find the music and they will tell us that they want to hear it.
Well, I totally agree. One of the things that's so counterintuitive is that sometimes the way to do that is to do something that is, see if I got the right word. If it's slightly provocative and you're kind of telling certain people, this is not for you, right? That's how you get other people to really buy in. That's the way it works in our society, right? It's like, this is really for you. And then by definition, it's not for you, right?
Well, it's psychology, right? It's triggering an emotion.
Like almost everything that got really famous started out as some weird fringy thing, right? It was like, oh, you listen to that? That's weird. You listen to rock and roll, or you listen to grunge.
Well, jazz music was illegitimate, right? It came out of speakeasies. It was an illegal thing, but it was the counterculture. And so then suddenly jazz music becomes academic, right? But in its wake is rock and roll, and even country music, and country western, and then punk rock, and then hip hop and
soul.
Yeah, soul and metal, and like everything was at one point counterculture. Then the big bad industry gets a hold of it, they reproduce it a bunch, and then there's another thing
because they play it to death.
Yeah, and there's a grunge rock coming out, and then there's always another thing.
Yeah, and grunge rock was a reaction to overly produced, super, like hours in the studio, late '80s crap kind of. Right, that's where it came from.
And then like I think the ultimate death of all of that is ambivalence. I mean, if you have an audience,
it's so true.
That's ambivalent, it's the worst possible thing for you. I could take it, I could leave it. So you're not going to matter.
Well, that's when you're trying to appeal
want
to
to be polarizing.
That's when you're trying to appeal to everybody.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. Like, this is a great year to demonstrate the power of being polarizing. I mean, we've had a bunch of, in country music in particular, a bunch of number one songs that were basically not for half of the demo.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, you've seen it.
Absolutely.
Like, just, this is not for you. We're going to proudly be for these folks.
Right.
And it's like almost like by not trying to get that entire audience, you're more powerful.
No, the scarier the better in some respects, right? The scarier the thing is when you say, Jesus, that usually means that you're taking a risk and you're saying something that matters, whatever it is, right?
And I think that's what it comes down to.
Right.
I think it comes down to taking risks and saying things that matter, not being afraid to say things that you care about.
So
stand
true.
for something.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Like stand for whatever that is, stand for that and say that loudly and you'll find your people.
So in your career, give us some example of stuff that has worked. Maybe reverse. I always find it interesting to reverse engineer stuff that worked rather than hope it might work. So how did that work?
Geez, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I worked with Eric Church when I was on the digital side, kind of early on. I was on the e-commerce side with him, fan club, engagement, all of that. And then I ended up, when I actually worked at UMG, I ended up working with him on the label side as well. And I love him and I love his team. And he's a perfect example of that, right? He's not going to do anything that's counterintuitive to what he stands for. That's not who he is. Right. Say he has a chip on his shoulder, say that he's, bitter, whatever you want to say, the guy knows who he is and he's unapologetically that, right?
One of the reasons I like him so much.
Yeah. And that you and so many other people out there, right? There's a lot of respect out there for him for that reason.
Absolutely.
He doesn't pander. He doesn't cater. He's just, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. And if you don't like it, it's not for you, right? We're outsiders.
We're good. Yeah.
We're outsiders. Me and my people were outsiders. We're not for everyone. And we don't want to be for everyone. And that's his whole approach. And that trickles into the music. And, I was at CMA Fest this past year, and there was drama around his set and the songs that he chose to perform versus the songs that he didn't choose to perform. I think there were like 5 or 6 songs that he performed, and I don't think he played one song that people there commercially would have wanted to hear. I think he played songs that fired him up, that he was excited about, that he created these crazy arrangements around, and then he pieced out and walked off stage. And hell yeah, man.
Yeah, you earned that.
Right.
Do that. Right. If that song, like with a hint of soul and whatever it is that feels unique and different to you, fires you up, do that.
I love it. It's like,
Me too.
It's like you got the lead in the fourth quarter. Don't change your offense now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's right. Don't get
Don't play the prevent defense.
Exactly.
Just keeping doing the exact offense you've been running the whole time.
Well, and the other thing, I don't know if it's true in your experience, but it seems like it's often true, is that a lot of breakout music happens, it starts young and then spreads. And, if you're in high school, you kind of want to be cool and different. It's like this instinct, right? What doesn't matter where or what vector, but you don't want to be like, not like your parents and not like most high school kids feel out of place, not in place.
That's right.
By definition. So the way they react is to say, I'm not going to be like those guys, right? I can do something cool and different. I'll show them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, I'm thinking of other examples. I had the pleasure of working with Chris Stapleton for a little while too.
Wow.
And it was very, very early. You know, we released What Are You Listening To, which
I love that song.
I'm still so bummed that that's not the song that worked early on.
Right.
You know, like in my heart of hearts, I still want him to circle back and release that song. And I feel like that song will have a life. I think
Megan just released that.
Megan just re-released it. I mean, Alana did a little cover of it.
Oh, did she really?
A while ago, yeah. I think about a year ago. I mean, it's just an incredible song. But the guy is a true vocalist.
He's so good.
He's also smart
so
enough
much
to go.
soul too.
Yeah, there are things that I am, and there are things that I am not, and I'm not gonna be, forced to do things that I am not. He's just not that guy. So when you have other artists recognize that, like Justin Timberlake recognizing that, and the moment that they had on the CMAs, and that being kind of what catapulted him into the mainstream. You look at those moments and you're like, he had the opportunity to stay true to exactly who he is, and be exactly what he is, and have the people out there appreciate him for just that, right?
It's a good old hedgehog concept, right? The good to great. Like, you got one thing that you're the best in the world at, just ride it.
Yeah.
Do that.
Ride it all the way.
Do that. Double down on that. The second you start trying to be something that you're not, I mean, that's when people smell it. Especially right now, they smell it from a mile away, and this world is full of that. Just people trying to be what they think is going to work, chasing something. And I've said this from the beginning. I mean it. Like, the only thing that I feel like is worth chasing is the most authentic version of yourself. As an artist, on the business side, it doesn't matter. Like the blinders onto what people are doing out there. Like
because there's no such thing as mass success anymore anyway, right? There's like so many different slices that success is, just because it's narrower doesn't mean it can't be a big deal, but it's not the same as it was when.
Yeah, like there's no shame in studying the game, right? And anything you're gonna do, if you trace enough pictures of an artist, of a visual artist, you can figure out how they create their artwork. You at some point you got to paint. Yeah. And maybe people hate your painting. Yeah. But I guess you're not really doing the thing if you're not doing that, right?
Right.
So I guess I'm curious. Okay, so you're working on the label side, a bunch of different arenas. Early on the digital, which is huge. Most of the people now who are having a lot of success really understand all aspects of digital marketing, all different types of digital marketing. And you just see that through line. I'm not saying that as like some sort of authority, just it's a common thread. When I see people who are having success, their backgrounds are in that arena. So when do you meet Alana? Like, because is Alana your only management client?
Right now, yeah. Intentionally, yeah.
Intentionally. So when do you meet her? How does that relationship form? Like, how do you transition? Like, what?
Yeah, I was at that point. I had left the label, and I had moved over to Morris Hyam Management on the management side. Okay. And had been there for about 6-7 years as the head of marketing over there. Just an incredible run, incredible roster. We started out with, it was just Kenny Chesney, Jake Owen, Martina McBride, essentially was the roster when I started, and it was just me on the marketing team. And over the next 6-7 years, the company grew to, there was a marketing team of like 4 or 5 people.
And you were running it?
I was running the team. And the roster was like 17, 18 artists deep at that point. So we had grown, pretty intensely. And marketing was so much of that. Marketing, digital. I was kind of running DSPs from the management side. And I knew that I wanted to manage. I'd always wanted to manage. And my boss, Clint, had always said, listen, there's always a lane, there's always an avenue for people to grow here. And, if you find an artist, I want you to feel empowered to do that. And a friend of mine in the business reached out to me and said, hey, we'd been looking for ways to work together. And she said, hey, there's this artist that I think you should take a look at. We have her on the development publishing side. Here's some music, here's some photos. And she was young. I think when I got the first set of photos, she was probably like 18 or 19. Yeah. And it felt early, it felt young. But there were some songs that I was like, really intrigued by, and I was intrigued that an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old at the time, when she wrote them, could do that, could could say those things. And I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. Please keep me updated. Next set of photos, next set of music, please just send me. About a couple months later, she resent me songs, some new songs that she'd written, some updated photos. And in my head, I was like, I know where this is going. Like I think I know, what the vision is that this girl wants for her career. But I wanted to see for myself. So I asked for the meeting and we got together, and I was just blown away by how mature she was for her age. I'm looking at this. I think she was like 19.
How old is she now?
She's 23 now.
Okay.
That's probably right around when I became aware of her.
Like 19, 20, yeah. And she just grilled me. She wasn't.
She was interviewing you.
She
Wow.
was. I mean, she wasn't walking into this going, "Oh my God, I need a manager. Anybody will do." She was just like, I could tell that she understood how important this decision was for her, and she had a manager or two that hadn't worked out.
Those are just a lot of our conversations with other artists and people inside of the music business and managers has been about like those deals going wrong.
Right. And,
so
I'm grateful because the people that were in her world, those managers are great people, great human beings, just not the right fit, right? And so she felt this pressure to really find the right person and not waste time, and to find someone that could really, that she could partner with, that could help her bring this vision to life. And we had an incredible like hour and a half long conversation, and she's so steady, so even keeled. She was like, what's your personality like? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? We had this back and forth about, I asked her what she was looking for in the personality, of a manager. Like, what do you think you need to be able to do this well? And she was like, I'm not a big fan of confrontation. I don't love confrontation. She said, I need somebody that's gonna be willing to fight for me. Velvet Hammer style, in a nuanced way, but to really get stuff done for me, because I'm not good at doing that for myself. I'm not good at standing up for myself. I was like, well, yeah.
I got that. Check.
That's me.
Right.
She's like, I need someone that's super direct. She's like, I don't like it when people tiptoe around me. I don't like it when people try to fluff, what they're trying to say. Like, say it like it is. Tell me like it is. Be direct with me, and I'll respect you, kind of thing. I was like, well, check that too, So we had this really, really, really great conversation, and we clicked. We really, really clicked, and we say this. Now looking back, like I think we knew after that first meeting that this is something that we wanted to do together. We just knew that it was a big decision, so we sat on it. Clint immediately got it. He listened to the music, the stats, the numbers. I brought her in. He met with her, and he was like blown away by her. He was like, "Listen, I get it. I see what you see. If this is something that you want to do, you have my support." And so initially we came into Morris Higham and started kind of building it at Morris Higham, and then realized that it wasn't the right place for me as a manager, wasn't the right place for her as an artist. And Clint, credit to him, is the one that came to me and said, "Listen, I know you can do this. I know you can do this on your own. I think we all do. Is this something that you and Alana want to do together?" And I said, with your blessing, I would love to, but I would never just take her away. He's like, "You have my blessing." He's like, go get it. Go do it.
That's amazing.
Wow, that's
awesome.
very cool.
So, and there are not too many, you're not going to hear too many stories like that in the music business.
Not at all.
I've been lucky enough to
somebody's getting sued.
exactly.
Usually,
Or there's going to be a lot of bad energy,
or
bad
bad,
juju. Yeah.
Exactly. And I remember asking him, I was like, "Hey, what if she wants to stay with you? What if she wants to stay here?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there." He's like, he knew that wasn't going to happen. But
So like when you talked to her, she was 18 or 19. Did she say what her goals were? Like, did she know like what
she wanted to play stadiums
other than making it? But like
check.
She wanted to play stadiums. She said,
really?
She's like, I see this being a global thing. She's like, I want to play all over the world. I want to travel the world. I want to play stadiums. I want my music to reach people all over the world.
What was her level of success at the time?
She was playing clubs around.
So it was crazy.
Yeah, I saw her like
she had done a showcase.
Okay, yeah.
She had done a showcase or two, for industry at a couple venues around town, but she wasn't touring.
Yeah, no.
She did no band.
She had some players that she really dug, that she was playing with, but not a steady band. She had released a couple songs independently through her deal, but she'd been in town for quite a while at that point. She'd been writing since she was 12.
Okay, so you start working with her like, okay, day one, like, it's like, okay, we need flour, eggs, it's like what'd you do first?
Well,
right?
yeah, and the other crazy part that I want to do like a little
Milk.
appreciation around, like talk about maturity. We're talking about a person who's 19.
Yeah, I know.
Who knew, first of all, how many
And how old were you?
companies-
You were 25, 6? No.
How long ago was this when we met? So this
5
was
years ago.
like 4 years ago.
4 years.
So 33.
Yeah, so you're both young. I mean, you're both,
Okay, my goals when I was 19 were very simple.
Yeah, I get it. What's
wanted
for dinner?
your milk, eggs,
She's
and
hot.
they
Did not
Phoebe?
involve playing stadiums.
Yeah,
Okay, right?
like she is built different.
Well,
She
yeah,
is
but I mean, you're
built
telling me
different.
about a level of awareness. So how many companies exist that are out there that like they get a head count of 50 and they realize like all these people suck because they never once thought about the type of
Who are we going to hire? I know,
into
it's
the
so
organization.
true. It's so true.
You know what I mean? And so you've got a 19-year-old who's like, I'm good at this. I'm not good at this. First of all, just that alone.
And she's a songwriter. So does she write for other people or she just writes her own?
You know, she has been primarily writing for herself, but she's getting more and more into pitching and writing for others now. I think she's so good at telling her story through song. It's how she's perceived herself, her own story, and communicated with the world around her. So that's her form of communication and processing is writing songs.
But so what was the first thing you guys did?
Yeah, so it's funny. We started talking about it, and I realized that there was an industry. The industry recognized that she had been in town for a while, and like she was so young, and she had been, she had taken meetings and made the rounds and all of that. And I think, in my opinion, maybe a little early for.
Is she from here?
For what she's from Virginia Beach originally, and so I knew that we had some work to do from a perspective in the industry, and I wanted this town to really see how talented she was. Not, hey, she's been in town for a while, whatever. That stuff to me didn't matter. I wanted them to not hear it from me, but to see how talented she was. And she's an incredible songwriter. Mm-hmm. She is an unreal songwriter. So I wanted to start with the publishers. I wanted to start with the community here that really matters: the writers, the producers, the publishers. I wanted to start with them and make sure that they saw what we were doing. So we took a couple meetings with publishing companies that I trust in town. We met with Smack. Robert Carlton over there was the first meeting that we took. And we walked in and we said, listen, we want to get really smart with how we're setting up rights. We're not going to ask for Shane McAnally. We're not going to ask for Josh Osborne. That's not why we're here. We want to find her squad. The young guns, the guys that are coming up that want to write songs with artists and grow with them and build with them. And he was like, I got you. Let's start with a couple of these writers here and there. So we started early and we built a strategy for, okay, here are our goal writers. She made a list early on of like 20, 30, 40 goal writers that she wanted to eventually get with. We've checked everything off that list. I think a year and a half in, we checked everybody off that list. But we didn't do it by asking favors. We didn't do it by going, hey, will you please write with this artist? We did it by writing with artists that we knew that she could get great songs with that were tangentially related to the other artists that we wanted to get with.
That's very good concept.
So
great idea.
So it was the writers talking to each other, the publishers talking to the writers, and the writers talking to producers going, have you written with Alana? Have you written with this girl? Do you know her? You should. I know that if I put her in the right room with the right writers, with the right crew, they are going to get an incredible song. The publishers are going to hear that song. The labels will end up hearing that song because the publishers will talk to the labels. The producers will talk to the labels, the A&Rs. I'm not going to have to beat down doors. Just let her do what she does really, really well and let Nashville be Nashville, right? Nashville wants to lift up the real talent in this town.
So, the thing that she's referencing that I've seen a few times is when an artist gets shopped around to all the labels at whatever point in their career, there comes a point in time when everybody's like, oh yeah, we know her. She was shopped around and we all passed and it's over.
Yeah.
And so like they're like, it's everything's so binary. It's like, yeah, no, it's a no. And so like to recognize that and say, okay, what we need to do is do that over again, but the right way, and
Exactly.
and it's rare. I mean, I don't know all the stories that are out there. I know a very tiny, small number of them, but my thought is it's pretty rare to get another shot at that and for it to work the way that it has. I mean, right? I don't know if that's.
I mean, it does feel that way, and I think so much of it is intention and strategy, and just the way that you go about it, right? And I think, and ultimately, I believe that it comes down to talent. I believe that the cream rises to the crop. I believe that the real artists and the real writers, if their careers are handled well, have that opportunity, and they can get there. With her, truly, I mean, we've built this. What we've built so far, we built on the backs of the creative community, the writers and the publishers, and that piece of Nashville, which is what makes Nashville Nashville. And she would say the same thing to you. She doubled down on telling her story, her unique story that somehow applied to so many people out there and found her audience through her own story. And that's because the writers believed in her enough to lend their talent and their skills to help her tell that story in the writing room. And the girl's also a co-producer. She goes in and she produces her own songs too with producers that she loves. I mean, she's involved in every single piece of that. And I learned that from Kenny Chesney, from working with Chesney. Yeah. He was involved in he has his fingerprints on every piece of his career, and not in a micromanaging way, just in a no one understands Kenny's business the way that Kenny Chesney understands Kenny's business kind of way. And he knows that too. And that's who she is. That's the kind of artist that she is. She knows that the one thing that's going to create that thread, that universal cohesiveness in her career, is going to be her touch on it. Her speaking to what she wants, what she is, what she isn't, and being in the studio and laying guitars down and having her guitar, her acoustic tone, sound, vibe, tuning, being that guitar that's tying that thread through the songs. Her writing, her instincts. I mean, she's a bulldog in a writing room. She's not scared to say, no, that's not it. That's not the right line. That's not the right word. I wouldn't say that. That's not it. That's it. She's a conductor and a director in the writing room, the same way that she is in the studio, the same way that she is on stage, and ultimately that's what you want in an artist. You want an artist that's empowered to be the most confident version of themselves. And that was important for me early on too, is to help cultivate that in her, to help her feel empowered to be the most confident version of herself, the human first, right? So we built our relationship, our artist-manager relationship, based on that. How can I help you be the healthiest, most confident version of who you are?
This sounds like Wendy's meme game.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't like me? Cool.
I don't care. Yeah. Great. Stay in line.
I've got friends.
Yeah.
They like me.
I like my friends.
Yeah. Everything's good.
Yeah. We're good. It's okay.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
That is very cool. So now she has a deal with Sony. Is that right?
Columbia. Yeah. Columbia out of New York and Sony Nashville. And that was one of the last things that we did. I mean, we actually signed with our agent, with UTA, really early on. We knew touring was going to be a massive part of our story.
I think, that's a cool, that agency, a mutual friend of all of ours, I think, moved over there and is doing some really cool stuff.
Man,
so that's awesome.
UTA slaying. I mean, what they've been able to do in Nashville, Jeffrey Hassan and that squad, they're creating something really special over there. And what I love about him and UTA in general is that it's not just booking dates. Mm-hmm. I send Jeffrey demos. Mm-hmm. I send him songs. He was an instrumental part of making the Chris Stapleton feature happen on Ghost in My Guitar.
Okay.
He and I did that together. And people don't normally rely on their agents in that way, right? But Jeffrey has been a true cohesive, a partner across the board on everything. He knows what she's writing. He knows the direction things are going. He knows what's happening in the social space. He has social ideas. He has digital ideas. And he wants to be involved in an artist's success from a 360 perspective, and he leans in from that perspective. So that's what we were looking for. That's what we're looking for in everybody that we work with, right? So that was really important early on, and they came in really hungry, and they believed so hard. They came to me. I knew some people over at UTA from years ago, and they reached out to me not knowing that I was her manager. And they were like, hey, we're watching this girl, Alana Springsteen. Do you know who manages her over there? And I was like,
Let me give you her number.
I was like,
hold on.
This crazy. It's me. I was like, it's me. I'm managing her. And they're like, you've got to be kidding. Like we love her. We love the music. We're super fired up about this. Can we meet? Can we talk about this?
That's so cool.
That is
Early
really
on.
cool.
I mean, it was just so meant to be. And then, publicity wise, we work with Sweet Talk PR with Jensen Sussman over there. And we did that really early, probably too early, because I knew how important credibility was going to be for us, like building that songwriter, credible storyteller story was going to be everything, and finding the champions out there, journalists and outlets to be able to help us tell that story was going to be really important, knowing that we didn't want to sign a label deal too early. We wanted to develop this and build it on our own, and get it to a place where we just needed the label to take it over the finish line from a global perspective. So those are the tools that I felt Alana needed to be able to do that on our own. We wanted the touring and we wanted the publicity, and I had the digital and the marketing and the top level covered, and that's what we felt we needed.
Now, what are you guys doing? So is she releasing a new album coming soon, or
so we just dropped her debut album called 20 something towards the end of last year, and that was wildly successful for us. That was a big win for her. And she's deep into writing. At the top of this year, she's writing for album 2, which is this really crazy, renewed, energy that she's been looking for and has found, which the songs that she's writing are just next level. It's insane. And we just today actually dropped her Apple Music session.
Oh, great.
So she reimagined 4 songs, which is so fun. It's so cool that Apple does this, but they literally, pay to put an artist in the studio with their band for a couple of days and go, hey, pick 4 songs that you love and completely reimagine them and record them on the spot.
So where did they do that?
Here at the Nashville Apple Studios.
That's amazing.
So she went in, and it's Human Nature, Michael Jackson. It's Usher, DJ got Me Falling in Love.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good for the Super Bowl.
It's Morgan Wallen, Sand in My Boots. And then she did Goodbye Looks Good on You, which is a song that's done really, really well for her. That was on her debut album. And, the cello, steel, they just went crazy
so cool.
on these.
I got to download that right
Please
now.
do.
Sounds awesome.
I'm going to.
Yeah, look it up. I mean, it was just so much fun watching her in this process, watching her come to life. I mean, this is why she does what she does. To be able to watch her in the studio, just soak in that creativity and in that, collaborative spirit with these players, with Nashville. I mean, you have this guy, Gideon Klein, who's this incredible, cellist, and he plays steel as well. And you watch their wheels turning, and he's just kind of messing around with things in his head, and all of a sudden he just starts like this dum 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 on the cello, and she's like, that's it. That's exactly what I want. And to watch it just come together piece by piece in that way was just insane. And then we went back in, and she mixed the songs for Spatial in person in Apple's Spatial space.
That's so cool.
You literally have just this engineer behind her with a laptop, and he's playing the music, and you have the cello up there, and you have the keys here, and you have the synth back here, and she's just going, hey, can you bring the cello down about 3 feet? Literally. So he's like, yeah, I got you. And next time you hear it, the cello used to be here, and you hear it here.
Listening to spatial audio on your AirPods is it's really trippy too. Like it really is like songs really well sound really different.
It's wild. It's an immersive experience, really, and it was crazy. I mean, I had heard Spatial before. I'd heard Spatial, with the headphones and in a room as well before, but watching her mix with him and go and decide where she's like, I don't want the cello over here. She's like, I want the cello to come from behind me. I don't want it to come from in front of me. It's an entirely different way to be creative.
Yeah.
So just that whole experience was really great. But so that just dropped. And then touring is going to be a massive part of this year. We've already locked a couple major.
What size venues will she tour in this time?
So she's gonna be in for her kind of headline stuff. She'll be in clubs and kind of building that headline hard ticket vibe, which has been important to us from the beginning. But then Hangout Fest and all these soft ticket dates that really make sense to her. Anywhere on the coast by the water, she's in.
Is she doing the Florida? Tortuga?
Tortuga?
No, we did. We saw each other there a couple years ago. You can only go so often.
Yeah, you had fun at Tortuga.
I sure did.
You had a good time.
He's going again this year.
I'm sure you are.
For your 40th,
Yes, I'm turning
40th birthday.
I love it. I love it. But then she's going to be she'll end up in amphitheaters and arenas and toward the back of the year. The back of the year
Supporting.
Very cool.
going to be pretty big.
Yeah, the hard ticket thing is so interesting, right? Because and we've talked about this before, right? You've got all these people who are absolutely blowing up on TikTok, but then you go to see them live and nobody's paying attention, or they
Right.
can't sell. You know, they've got like #1 tickets or whatever, and they try to do a small club, like 1,000 cap tour, and like they can't sell it.
You know, but it's surprising because there are some purely TikTok artists that came up in TikTok exclusively that have really been able to succeed through it. I mean, like
You can do it. It's just it's not a given.
if you don't have the talent.
Yeah.
If you don't have the talent, and it's great. It's a great weeder outer, right? It's a technical term.
Oh yeah, weeder outer.
For artists that are just like, one and done viral, like just happen to get lucky and have a moment and can't really sing, can't really perform, can't really whatever. They have their moment and they have a thing, but this is why it's a tool, right? TikTok is a tool. Like these social platforms are a tool. If you have the talent and the ability and the story to tell and the thing to say, and you're able to use TikTok and these platforms, to amplify what your
Well,
story.
it puts a spotlight on you. So now you have a spotlight.
That's right.
So what are you going to do? Do you have a catalog to like actually follow that one viral 30-second moment up?
Yeah.
And our mutual friend has represented on the legal side Walker Hayes forever. And this last year, I watched him sell out Red Rocks headlining.
I love that guy.
Headlining Red Rocks. After all these years of being dropped from labels or whatever.
Right.
But here's a guy that had a TikTok hit. It is a great song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fancy like,
It is a
it's
great
perfect.
song.
But he has a TikTok hit, and he figures out how to parlay that into selling out Red Rocks. There are so many people who have that moment and don't figure out how to do that. But then there's just as many who can.
Such a big song.
Right.
That was
Yeah,
such
it was huge.
a big song. And you have to respect it. And the thing is, like, Walker is a genius of a songwriter. He is such.
Well, he wrote.
an
That's what
incredible
first got my attention on the Alana front, because I knew that you guys were. I've always thought she's super talented, but then I like looked up one day and she had written a song with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They wrote
She's
early.
like the whole package, though. she seems fun. She's beautiful and she's very talented, right? So she's
She's really got it all.
perfect.
She's really
Yeah,
got
she
it
really
all.
has it all.
It's impressive. She impresses me daily. I find some way of going, how are you this at 23 daily? Like it's absolutely unreal. She's going to do whatever she wants to do in this career. She will sell out stadiums. I'm more confident in this than I've ever been in anything
Are
of
we
my life.
renaming the podcast right now?
Road to the stadium.
Yeah.
Which stadium?
Forget the arena.
Right, yeah.
We're going stadiums.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, arenas are lame. There's too much like reverb. Anyway.
We're glad you came.
Stadiums.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
so
here
much.
with
This
us
is so much
today.
fun.
Yeah, and the last time
Yeah.
it was so
Amazing
funny.
story.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
the story is great. I'm so excited for you guys. It's
Me
going to be
too.
really great.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it'll be
Yeah.
fun to watch you now and watch the whole everything evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I'll come back and we'll do.
Yes,
like
let's do it again.
We'll do an update.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
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 Totally.
We'll go to your mansion and go right.
I'll have a
Wisconsin.
little boat. I'll have a little dinghy, and
Right.
that's where I'll be.
Oh, like one of those things in outer space, right?
Just put me on the water. I'll be fine. Just
Yeah,
put
me
me
too.
on
I have to be on the water.
You don't need to be like on the moon or whatever.
No, I
like
want
a
to be
thing.
near water.
Yeah.
I'm a
Okay.
water girl.
Put
I
me
just bought
on-
a pontoon boat.
Let's go.
Yeah, right?
I love pontoons.
All right.
That's awesome. It's a good
Seafarer.
choice.
Yeah, right. I love seafaring. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess like one last thing before we wrap up. So your management company is. Do you have any vision? Like, is this you and Alana side by side? From like, because obviously this career is going to last for a long time, and she's going to continue to be super successful. Do you have any ideas, visions of expanding the roster? What does that look like? What are you thinking?
Listen, like early on, I think it's really easy to sign too many acts too quickly, and I think I understand the impulse to diversify. I understand the impulse to go, I don't want to put all my chickens or whatever it is, all my eggs in one basket. Mm-hmm. I understand that impulse as a manager, as an entrepreneur who is very much taking a leap of faith, right? Betting on themselves, betting on their artists. I get it. I did not want to do it that way. Alana has a plan A, And that plan A is also plan B, C, D, and E. I mean, that's it. She's betting her life and her entire future on this career. And she deserves more than a manager that's going to go, I'm 25% in on you. I'm 25% on them, and them, but I'm 25% in on you. So I knew that I wanted to focus on her and just her and really get this off the ground and have her make sure that she had all of me. Because I mean, I'm out there on the road with her as well. I feel like that's been a superpower for us. Just relationships and scheming and planning and, strategizing together on the road. Those rental car rides, like 3 hours from one place to another, we've come up with our best ideas. Like the whole idea for the You Don't Deserve a Country Song, the music video and the release plan and the Opry and all of that happened in a rental car ride from one city to the next on the Mitchell Tenpenny tour. I wanted to be able to give that much attention to one act early on. And yeah, I want to build 18. I want to grow. I want to scale. But, I think I've spent less energy thinking about that and more energy thinking about building Alana.
Yeah,
up until this point.
It's a byproduct. The scaling.
If she wins,
byproduct.
I win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my focus is making sure that she wins and focusing on that.
Fabulous, but remarkable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
I appreciate it. I mean, I feel like it's the way that it should be done. And
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if it's
Our next podcast.
Yeah, tell me on a beach somewhere at a festival.
Yeah.
I'm sure
You
I'll
got
see
it.
you. Yeah.
Corona tent.
Somewhere, some tent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congrats on everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you for having me. Congrats on that.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks.